I gotta ask this question. Why am I seeing folk on Twitter start trying to, put attention on Xbox players to buy Final Fantasy 16? Like, I've seen a lot of posts saying, okay, now, Xbox gamers, Final Fantasy 16 is now in on your platform. Show us how you buy these games. Well, first of all, we must not easily hopscotch over the disrespect that's been shown to gamers for these developers basically going to take a bag and keeping their game purposefully signing agreements to block those games from other platforms. In fact, if anything, I'd expect that the Xbox player decide to do what they want to do with their money. Like in the case of the Steam user, when Final Fantasy 16 finally came to Steam, the Steam players had choices to make. First, they had their old games that they had to bypass, their backlog. They could have been gaming on other platforms like Game Pass, Epic Games' free games, which, whatever you want to call them. They could have been playing their regular, games that they usually play. And so when we looked at the Steam DB numbers for Final Fantasy 16, I'm sure a lot of people were probably not surprised because, again, when you think about it, other games had also been, anticipated like Black Myth Wukong. Other games had been anticipated like maybe even God of War Ragnarok, a PlayStation game that came out around the same time. So most PC gamers would have probably been in a position where they had decisions to make. This is definitely something that needs to be considered. Now, can you imagine that in this flood of games coming to Game Pass, that somebody may be trying to tell the Xbox gamer, well, you now finally got this game on your platform. Make sure you play it, okay? Show us that you can play these games. Xbox don't buy games. Blah, 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 blah. You're just shouting into a vacuum. The reason that we know you're shouting into a vacuum is simply because when it came down to it, the game has already served its purpose. It's already wasted everybody's time pretending to be an exclusive. It's fooled you into thinking that you bought yourself a much more superior platform because you got to play the game in quote earlier. You paid more for it. The launch pricing is different than it was on your platform. So those who bought it at launch paid more money. Great. They played it day and day. It's wonderful. They've subsidized it for the Xbox and PC gamer. Right? You put this all together, what you have on your hand is what I think is a lot of people who probably basically decided that lording games and playing list wars over other people was more important than actually going for the health of the gaming industry. Do most of you actually realize or know, right, that if these developers and publishers like Square Enix were to go out of the market, it would really, really not necessarily change too much? I hope you know that, right? Because now there are so many games out there that no one feels the weight of a Final Fantasy game not coming to their platform. These are some of the challenges that the game industry needs to see and is seeing. And so anybody that may be going out there saying you need to buy the game, show us that you're going to buy the game, is just, they're according to what the youngins will say on the streets today, they're capping. That's just straight up nonsense. Okay? Do not feel the need to do what it is that you are not interested in doing. When it all comes down to it, you as the gamer have always had the power. You've always had the say. What's happened is perception was always what was pretty much making gamers feel like they were powerless over these companies, right? And a lot of the fandom and a lot of the inner childlike nature of the whole conversation where people are excited about some game, these game developers and companies and their marketing teams, they leveraged all of that to pretty much, suck you in to all of this nonsense. In reality, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes down to it, all that they've needed to thrive was your money. And so if they chose that they would take money from somewhere else and hold off on your money, then you can decide that you want to use your money for something else and hold off on your money until you're ready. If you want to buy it today, I've seen a lot of people. In fact, I've been very, very pleased to see a lot of people buy it, actually, right? But at the same time, there are people who are like, it's an old game. Because it is. It's an old game. What was the inherent benefit of having the game locked to the PlayStation ecosystem for the gamers? Nothing. Because as many may have thought, oh, this is going to harm Xbox. Xbox has a lot of games for its gamers to play for way less money. In fact, if you spent at the time that the game launched $60 in subscribing to Game Pass at the time, you would have gotten yourself a good more gaming and entertainment available to you than Final Fantasy 16 could actually give you. And so today in this market, anybody who's engaging in exclusivity in that particular methodology is being financially and fiscally irresponsible. That's what it is. And that's just basically claim number one after this particular showcase. This showcase is bringing out a lot of the bad faith in the woodwork towards the Xbox gamer. The Xbox gamer has been almost downtrodden by most of you, and you will not stop. I have to get up from my PC and come out and be like, what in the world is wrong with all of you? There's some of them that even right now are saying things like that the Xbox Ally is not an Xbox. In fact, I saw one comment that was very funny. Do you know one person said to me, they said, well, this is considered a third-party partnership because like the Rogue Ally, it's more like a partnership with Mad Catz. And I said, okay, what do you know? And I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean? And the person said, well, if it's not a console made by the manufacturer, then it's actually not the console. It's not made by Microsoft. I'm saying to myself, what is wrong with you guys, man? Like, what is going on? The Rogue Ally is this person Fire Phil Spencer, user said, the Rogue Ally is a third-party partnership similar to the Mad Catz controllers. I consider an Xbox first-party console made by Microsoft. See, let me just be honest with you. We don't really care what you consider. Do you understand what I mean? Like, that's exactly why this conversation is actually, moving into what this device is going to do. We are not concerned about your consideration. Do you know why? You probably aren't going to buy this device anyways. Someone like me that's a PC gamer that wants to carry my library that I can, that I use multiple libraries everywhere without having to go back and install Windows again, which I did on my Steam Deck. I want to buy this device. Does that make sense to, because again, I use Game Pass and I've already acquired a small, tiny itsy bitsy library on Xbox, but I want to be able to access that library from one device, and I do so on my PC, but I do not have a handheld that can do that. And if this device is going to do that with ease, I don't care what it is. If Microsoft and ASUS say it's an Xbox, then I say it's an Xbox. I got an ASUS TUF GPU inside of my device. It's an NVIDIA GPU, but it's an ASUS GPU. Call it what you want. An ASUS GPU, NVIDIA GPU, ASUS NVIDIA GPU, third party, whatever. I don't give a hoot. So I replied, I said, even those consoles are, they aren't made by Microsoft and PlayStation. AMD powers them. It's a partnership. AMD claimed them in their collective of gaming devices. Do y'all remember when AMD's boss said that they had sold 100 million AMD, let me see, AMD powered devices? She claimed them as AMD devices. She literally did. Mama Sue. I think it was Lisa Sue who made the comment, or maybe somebody that was there. And this is The Verge that's writing this. And they've officially powered 100 million gaming consoles. Ally is basically powering this console. And so I was pointing that out. And they said VG doesn't change that one is first party and the other is third party. Nobody cares. They said, call it whatever it is, but it wasn't made and sold. Sorry, but it's made and sold by ASUS, not Microsoft. Until they listed on the Microsoft store. And then what does that even entail? What does that even mean? It's an Xbox. It's as Xbox can be. What it's not is your traditional Xbox Series X console or Series S console, but is an Xbox Ally console. You see, the branding has already basically shut down the argument. Does that make sense? That's what I'm trying to just go ahead and portray here. I can understand that you may think it. You can think what you want. You know what I mean? Like, you can think what you want, but leave the Xbox gamers alone so that they can enjoy the things that their platform is making available to them. What in the world is going on? You should be enjoying and playing PlayStation games or something, right? You see, this is where, it's come, and I've been saying this all this while. I said, very soon, Xbox is going to steal the narrative, and if they continue to take the steps that they're taking, in fact, this step to me was not even something I myself envisioned, right? Because I was never necessarily too concerned about a lot of the perception and stuff. I just wanted to go with where the data led me. And so far, so good. What we're seeing is the console ecosystem is super threatened by what the PC has to offer. And so what has Xbox done? It's aligned itself with its own default mode, which is basically the PC, and is now pretty much subverting the entire console market. As many people may run out there and say, oh yeah, we want to buy, all of these other devices. Xbox is like, yeah, we'll capture the rest of them that don't buy those devices. And that's exactly what they're doing. So you understand, this is kind of like some petty little nonsense that's going on, where people are saying, oh, buy the game now, when you were lording the game over them that they didn't have the game. Now you want to tell them and say, buy the game? Now their own console can play your games, and you want to make it seem like, no, it's not their console. I got to say, this might be some kind of envy or obsession or jealousy. I mean, it's really interesting to me, folks. I don't know what else to say about this. And what's crazy is the games on Xbox, most of them you can already play on your PlayStation. You should be happy that Xbox gamers get to play your games. Aren't you happy about it? If you're not happy about it, why aren't you happy about it? Comment section. Peace out.